Hey everybody, Alex here, Out of the Park 23, Pittsburgh Pirates franchise, episode number 12. And what is this, a not beginning or end of the season video? Yes, the Pittsburgh Pirates are, for the first time, basically in this whole series, are competitive at the trade deadline. We sit here August 1st with a record of 58 and 54. And as I'll show you guys in terms of the standings, not really competitive for the Central, but as of right now, tied for that final extra wildcard spot. So look at your Buccos go. They're battling, have had some ups and downs this season. Not a great team overall, but to look where we started, we were pretty abysmal to begin the year, went 12 and 16 in May. At one point, I believe we were 34 and 40, something like that, and have gotten on the right side of things here in June and especially in July, going 7 games combined over 500. And that's probably in part to a couple different factors, but our team chemistry is off the charts and our whole staff does not hate each other the way they did last year, although you would think and hope it'd be a little bit higher than where things are at right now when it comes to staff cohesion. But there's progress, there's a competitive nature, so let's talk about what's going right with this team. This year, the Bats are decent, led by Bryan Reynolds, having a fantastic season. And did he make an All-Star game this year? He did. Yeah, he'll be another All-Star representative, or was. I should say this game is now past. And he's been really good, having one of his better seasons, and certainly better than what he's done the last couple of years. Just picked up a catcher, Jonah Heim, who I had back in my 2019 series. Remember, he was always a guy that got on base. Numbers overall weren't great, but he was the Billy Bean gets on base, and that's happening right now. Just claimed him off of waivers from the White Sox. Steven Kwan, I know is having a good year in real life with Cleveland, is slumping right now, but had a really hot start for the team. Claimed him off of waivers back in April. We'll take a look here at his splits. In May, 355. In June, hitting 417. Got on base nearly half the time. Really cold, though, in July. Certainly come back to earth. And we're trying to figure out what to do with Steven Kwan going forward. But overall, he's been a really big boost to the top of the order. The landscape of this team has changed quite a bit with new faces, especially recently. Landscape of this team has changed quite a bit, especially recently, with a lot of new faces being added to the team coming off the trade deadline. Gavin Sheets, not a trade deadline acquisition, but another waiver claim from the White Sox, and he's been fantastic for us in over 200 plate appearances, a 122 WRC plus with 7 home runs. And so really happy with what he's done, mostly as a DH, but right now going to probably play more first base for us. Ke'Bryan Hayes has battled injuries, but he's been good overall, and when he's been healthy, he's been really solid for us. Corbett Vivas has done well as well, helping out at second and third. Not great defensively, but the bat is what we've been really looking for. RJ Schreck has been maybe a little bit cooler lately, but he's certainly been a solid bat for us, working as a DH, working mostly as a corner outfielder. Nick Gonzalez, unfortunately, has not, replicated what he did last year. We had a 123 WRC plus, nearly a 3-WAR season. It's been about average overall, but he's been a really good leader for us defensively. He's held back quite a bit. Picked up Adam Duvall. I mentioned Duvall and Andrelton Simmons in the last video, I believe, and Duvall got the call up. He slumped mightily with us, but he provided a really good bat, and just a lack of power this offense had. He's got 15 home runs this year. I believe that's right around the top mark on the team. Yeah, second only to Bryan Reynolds. And so, Duvall's not quite sure what to do with him right now, but he's been a really good presence overall. Elias Diaz has cooled off as well, but he's been solid the way catchers go. In this game, Edwin Arroyo, who went from high A ball last year to the majors this year, has been good, defensively fantastic, and the bat's been serviceable overall for a shortstop for a 22-year-old, his first exposure to the majors. So a really good trade with Boston. We sent away a couple of pieces. Looks like nobody that's probably doing a whole lot. No, a lot of guys in high A ball right now. So happy with how that deal has gone for the Pirates. On the negative side of things, Endy Rodriguez has not been in Pittsburgh much this year, just had to make some tough decisions to send him down, and he was hurt to start the year as well, but he just came back up to try to give us a spark with Duvall in particular struggling, and man, what a disappointment overall. Tatsori Nageshi has not gotten it together. The BABIP's been low. The on base, he's still walking at a decent clip, but he's angry. That's not helping. He got hurt as well. I'm just not really quite sure where he's going to fit, but with Quan struggling, we're going to try Nageshi, who just came back from his rehab assignment. So the offense overall, go back to the info here. Batting average has been strong. In terms of the runs scored, it's not been fantastic, but we're no longer in the basement, which we were for so long. Same with home runs, below average, but not 15th in the NL, and we'll take it at this point. Starting pitching has been really good for us overall. Christopher Cruz, who is now among the best pitchers in baseball, has been fantastic. We tried to limit, and we have in fact limited his pitch count overall, so I'm trying to probably loosen those restrictions a bit as we try to make this playoff push. Eddie Eanes done a good job for us despite maybe the low control metric there. It's not been a big problem overall, and gotten some really good outings from other people. Miguel Yair has been, someone that's bounced on and off the roster for us and never been able to quite stick, but he's pitched well for us, probably pitching above his weight right now, but the BABIP's not incredibly low where it's 220 where you feel like regression's imminent, so we'll just keep rolling along with him. Luis Avito came back, unfortunately. The good news was he didn't regress from a scouting report standpoint post-injury. He had, if I pull up his history here, had a surgery to remove bone chips and missed the start of the year, but now he's fragile for us. That's the downside, but he still pitched, I think, well overall, so we're just living with it right now. And Alec Marsh, who we claimed off waivers from the Royals last year, has been really solid for us in 22 starts, ERA 3.77, ERA plus of 1.11. So it's been a good rotation overall. Cruz at the top is kind of your ace, and then no big liability behind that. Bullpen's a different story, made a lot of changes here, so there's some new faces we just acquired in Tyler Duffy and Wanderson Charles as well. Denny Bentley, our Rule 5 pick. I don't know what to do with this guy because he's been so good against lefties. If I pull up the batting splits, hold on 1 second here. Yeah, if you look at him against lefties, 141, he's just dominating lefties but getting crushed against righties overall. His pitching splits here, the ERA plus of 3.35 against lefties, but 50 against righties. And with the 3-out minimum or 3-batter minimum rule, it's a little bit harder to make that work. So I've tried to explore bringing in other people, but really couldn't find anyone who fit. So that's one thing to look at going forward. Trey McGow made the All-Star. Actually, he did not make an All-Star team. He made, I think, Player of the Month was one of his awards, if I can find it. Yeah, back here in July was the NL Pitcher of the Month. And so that's been really impressive for him as a long reliever overall. Andrew Schultz has been frustrating. It just feels like a lot of bad luck. The home runs over 9 is 1.9 for his movement. I know he's extreme fly ball, but still should not have the issues he's having right now. It's 1.1 the last 2 years. So you're just waiting for that number to be a little less unlucky, but so far it has not happened. Jason Foley has been fantastic for us, so that's been no concern there. Nick Mears has been good overall. Had a couple of rough outings, but he's done well, really progressed well this offseason. Victor Vodnik, acquired in the JT Brubaker deal, has done well for us, but there's been some guys who certainly have struggled who aren't with the team right now. Beck Way was really struggling. He's on a rehab assignment and about to come off of it, so I don't quite know what to do with him. He has not done well. Again, the home runs over 9, higher than what you thought it would be. Just suffered a really unfortunate injury as well in Alberto Guerrero, who just blew out his arm, torn UCL. He was pitching extremely well for us, and I was really confident in him. So that's a blow to a bullpen that's not been fantastic overall. But like I mentioned, made some acquisitions here, and Wanderson Charles claimed off of waivers from the Mets, who's been good for us here in limited action, and then actually made a trade for the first time in this series. The Pirates were buyers at the deadline, did not sell assets, and Tyler Duffy was one of those guys that we bought from Boston. Just got here, so limited work overall, but acquiring him, we traded a couple of prospects here. Former top pick Duke Ekstrom, who we took in the 3rd round, 89 overall, just never panned out for us. Also, an outfielder in Roman Anthony, who our scout had rated a lot higher than what looks like is being reflected right now. And then also our number 16 prospect in the organization in Shaylin Polanco. So wanted to give some assets to get Tyler Duffy. Didn't have to give up all that we gave up for Duffy. I could have gotten him for basically anybody with the way the trade block works, but I wanted to make it realistic, and that felt like a realistic deal to acquire Duffy. We made 2 other trades right before the deadline. One is not a move that'll impact this team this year, at least I don't expect it to happen. Carter Benz, who has been with us for quite some time, just really wasn't seeing playing time. Interesting profile as a catcher, somebody that got on base, was decent defensively, but not great. And I just didn't know exactly what his future was, and he was not happy with us. So he went to Texas. Actually, I was basically just offered this deal, so I did not go out there and seek it. Also gave away a first baseman, Carlos Dorado, to the Rangers in return, getting a reliever in Dory Moretta. The Rangers were just trying to dump salary, although that salary is not too big. But basically, to do this deal for the prospect we'll talk about in a moment, I had to acquire Moretta. He's actually just been waived, so he may never pitch for us. Probably won't pitch for us, but that was fine. We had the money to absorb that contract. The guy we got here that's interesting is Brock Wilken, who was one of their better prospects, not rated top 100, but a lot of power in that bat. Having a really strong year with the Rangers AAA organization. The BABIP was really high, so I'm not expecting him to ever hit 314 in the majors, but the power is interesting. Is going to be a first baseman, can play emergency catcher, which is attractive as well. So the big power in that bat made me want to go for Brock Wilken. Again, shouldn't play this year, but maybe an asset next year. Made one last deal with the San Francisco Giants, sending Charlize Aquino, who we acquired in a deal a way back. That was for Seth Beer. How is Seth Beer doing? He's out there with the Padres. He has appeared in, 32 games this year for the Padres and done poorly. So did not know what was happening with Seth Beer. So that's the guy we got for him. And now he's a Giant. Also sent the Giants Kenneth Quintanilla, a reliever in our system who was in A-ball, doing all right, just about average. And in return, the return of Cricky, Kyle Crick from Turtle Creek. So he comes back to the Pittsburgh Pirates. Don't quite know where I'm slotting him at the moment. The bullpen's full, but I'm gonna figure it out here. Needed more bullpen help. This is basically in response to after Guerrero was hurt. Then I traded for Crick as insurance to get another righty in there, and he is excellent against righties. And so hasn't pitched much this year. He had been hurt. He had a strained shoulder back in May and missed 8 weeks, but he had a couple of appearances healthy now for the Giants, had yet to allow a run, and last year with Minnesota had done well, and of course was a pretty good reliever in Pittsburgh way back when, if I pull it up, last pitched for them in 2021, but had a couple of good years with the Pirates. So Kyle Crick makes his return to Pittsburgh. Do want to talk about the results of the 2026 MLB Draft. Our first round pick was, and I love drafting the college players here, and Nick Dowell, the center fielder, who'll be a center fielder for us out of Arkansas, already signed and sealed, under slot at just $2 million. That tends to happen with the college seniors, already 23 years old, so certainly one of the older prospects here, but we want to find somebody that can play good center field with a good bat as well, and that's what we have in Nick Dowell. Was the idea of Brian Reynolds may no longer be a Pirate after a year or two, and he's got a team option coming up this year, a player option, I believe it is, and so he could be gone after this year, and I need to find some protection. We need to find some people to potentially replace him, and Nick Dowell may be that guy. High school batter in the second round with Jason Moten, a catcher that looks like he can play. The arm is poor, but the ability and the potential there is solid. And of course, the batting ratings are super attractive overall. So just 18 years old, about to turn 19. So who the heck knows what'll happen, but that was the pick there. I was deciding and debating between Moten and this pitcher, Willie Burnell, in the second round, and Burnell was still there in the third. And so I jumped on him. Has to develop pitches, obviously a pretty young arm, but I like the overall profile. Third round is Brian Jackson, who is yet to sign. I think I have an offer out to him. We'll see if he accepts or not. There is no guarantee. Really strong and solid defensive numbers in the outfield, especially in center. And so that was, of course, the most attractive part of him to me. And then in the fifth round, he has been signed. Brock Porter, another college arm. and somebody that's pretty well developed, pretty similar to what Trey Sheffield was for us in last year's draft. And just by the way, to kind of recap, talk about some of the former first-round picks, Kumar Rocker has just completely regressed and is awful and will never pitch again in the majors, I don't think. And so that is the book on, in the sense of one of the worst picks, because he made it to the majors but was just a terrible major league player, and that's just unfortunate. Had a career 5.75 ERA, 2-22 record. Again, it's hard to hold win-loss records against pitchers, but that's one of the worst you're ever going to see. So Kumar Rocker, I had high hopes for him, and it did not work out. Talked about Tatsori Nageshi, battling, trying to make it work. These guys are making the majors, but they're not always having great success. First-round pick here, though, in Cade Arambide, still just 20 years old, about to turn 21, but it's not been great overall for him. The numbers have been pretty poor, but again, catchers don't get a lot of love, and this team should update his latest scouting reports, so I'll do that now. Dylan Lesko, doing well in high A ball with a 3.35 ERA, so overall, I'm waiting for that changeup to try to hit 50. That would be ideal, but like where he is at overall, and make it the promotion to AA by year's end. In fact, he's pitched almost 100 innings in high A ball. We're going to try AA with Dylan Lesko. So we'll get him up there to the curve and see how he does there. He's already, almost 23 years old, so I think he's ready for that promotion. And of course, Nick Dowell, the pick there. And do we have any other first-round picks? Oh yeah, we did have a first-round pick here too in our first year, Nicholas Perez. He's hurt and does not appear to be somebody who will ever make the majors. So that might be the one first-round pick. We'll see about, some of these other guys like Arambide and Lesko and Dial, but as of right now, Perez, probably a first-round or a late first-round pick, 36 overall, who almost certainly will never become an actual Pittsburgh Pirate. So a quick look at the standings to finish things out. Pittsburgh battling, trying, just want to get in the wild card game, get an opportunity with our ace, Christopher Cruz, and go from there and see what the heck could happen. So we're in it. We'll come back at the end of the season, or if we're really down the stretch, we may play out some games as well. So it's fun to at least entertain and talk about those things. But that's where things are at, battling the Cubs, the Rockies, the Braves, the Mets, and maybe the Marlins as well, most seriously. And then in the AL, it's pretty tight here with Baltimore and Detroit and Houston and Tampa Bay in terms of the best teams in baseball this year. Kansas City looking like one of the best teams, so that's surprising. Atlanta, who was great last year, barely over 500 right now. Washington leading the East. Cardinals dominating the Central for the second straight year, and a good battle out west between the Dodgers and the Padres. So that will wrap up today's video. Again, just happy to have a midseason update that's positive and trending in the right direction overall. So we'll see how the rest of the year plays out. Still a lot of baseball left at Pittsburgh, hopefully in the conversation down the stretch. So let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Appreciate you guys watching. Please like this video and subscribe to the channel. Would appreciate that. And we'll talk to you soon.